It is time for the Just Baseball Show. Thank you all so much for joining us on audio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Apple Podcasts. I don't know why that was so hard to get out. On video, YouTube, or live on X, and of course with our friends at SportsGrid. Jack McMullen, Aram Leighton, Peyton Ginas here with you on Tuesday's Just Baseball Show. Got a whole bunch to talk about. Game of the year last night in Las Vegas, not in Sacramento, in Las Vegas. They were playing at the AAA ballpark, but it was a doozy of a game between the Brewers and the Athletics. We also have to talk about Tarek Skubal's rehab assignment, Josh Young, his kind of resurgence, I guess, offensively for Texas, Brandon Marsh, what he's doing this year, and so much more. All of it is brought to you by BetMGM. And before we get into anything, time for some onomatopoeia. Crack. That's the sound of the bat hitting the baseball and a reward being dropped into your account. Take a swing each day in our free-to-play game. If you get a hit, you'll score a reward depending on whether your hit was a single, a double, a triple, or a home run. This game is exclusively available at BetMGM. How it works: play as the batter and select an area of the strike zone. If you get a hit, you win a prize. You can win a $50 bonus bet, an odds boost token, a parlay boost token, or a same game parlay boost token. A reminder, as always, make it legendary with our friends at BetMGM. You want to talk legendary? How about Monday night in Las Vegas? 29 combined runs, 11 combined home runs, and it was a 12-inning ball game that Milwaukee took 15-14 over the Athletics. It kickstarts Vegas week. The A's scoring started with a leadoff solo home run from Shea Langoliers, and Chris Carey, who does the TV play-by-play work for the Athletics, called it a Vegas bomb to start it off, and I thought that was absolutely perfect. And then Zach Geloff homered, and it was a Gello shot there too. So, like, playing into the Vegas too. That game was perfectly Las Vegas. You stayed up late to watch that one, coming back from Europe, mind you. So you could have gone to bed way earlier, but dude, game of the year, undisputably, right?
How could you? How could you not watch that game? It's what we were talking about going into the year. Why the Diamondbacks are just the guilty pleasure late night watch. Though the bullpen's been better this year, is that they score a ton of runs and then they give it up late, and it turns into this amazing slugfest. Same reason why you want to tune into some Rockies games too. It's just they usually haven't had the offense the last few years to make that happen. There was a lot of takeaways I had from this game. One, it was a ton of fun. I think it was a great idea to kind of tease the entry to Vegas before they, presumably are set to move in there in 2028. However, it's kind of got my gears turning now, Jack. And, this is fun. This is good stuff in terms of entertainment. However, we have another Coors Field on our hands here. This is the second highest altitude. I think it's I don't know how many feet above sea level. We can double check that. I think
2,000 feet above sea level.
2,000. That's what I thought. I didn't want to be wrong and give a crazy wrong number. That's the second highest behind only Coors. Obviously, the ball flies out there. There's context because, of course, they were playing in a AAA ballpark where we have plenty of data on how the ball is flown out there, and I'll get into that in a moment.
And real quick, dude, let me just point out that AAA dimensions are not like some sort of bandbox compared to Major League Baseball. Like, there are some that are totally, Charlotte is a short porch pretty much everywhere. Sure. Columbus is a short porch. These are normal distances. It's just entirely environmentally dependent here.
Well, and Baseball America does an incredible job of, it's one of the most valuable things I look at every single year is their park factors. And I know we have WRC Plus for the minor leagues too, but it doesn't, I don't think, bake in the park factors the way that, of course, the Major League statistics do. So it's really important context for like a prospect that's performing well at certain levels to contextualize it, or struggling. And I think usually more so struggling at certain levels to contextualize it. And when you look at Vegas in particular, last year, by park factor for runs a game, they were 26% above average in AAA. For home runs, they were 39%. So it was a 139 park factor. I believe that is going to be tops of all AAA teams, tied with Durham, which is surprising. I don't know why Durham is so high there for home runs per game. But regardless, they were already towards the top there. You put the Athletics in that stadium too, and maybe the Major League Baseball just flies a little bit different. I know it's supposed to be the same ball. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. We might have another place where no pitcher is ever going to want to throw.
And let me tell you, Kyle Harrison just bore the brunt of that, and he was the first sacrificial lamb of Las Vegas. Kyle Harrison, in his first 11 starts of the year, had allowed 10 earned runs, carried a 1.57 ERA into Monday night. He leaves with his ERA at 2.72. His first 11 starts, he allowed 10 earned runs. His 12th start, he allows 8 runs in 2 1/3 innings of work. He surrendered 3 homers. It was bombs away against Kyle Harrison. I feel terrible for Kyle Harrison because he has been one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, but he ran into the buzzsaw that is that Las Vegas environment. And honestly, that A's offense, we talk a lot about the Rocky offense in Coors Field and how you have certain guys jump out and show out, right? Like you remember the best of Carlos Gonzalez and you remember the best of Todd Helton and Larry Walker, if you go back a little bit, and more recently, Troy Tulowitzki and Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story. They always have this power bat. The A's built out a lineup that's really darn good. And we were already talking about all of the guys that can hit in that lineup when they play in Sacramento. If they take it to Vegas and the ball's flying even more, why can't Soderstrom hit 30 home runs year in and year out? Why can't Kurtz hit 45 year in and year out? Why can't Langoliers hit 30 year in and year out? They've got so many guys that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. And sometimes Jonah Heim pops one up to right field and it leaves. There are so many things that bake into this chaos ball game that we watched on Monday night. But dude, it was just so darn exciting to watch what this A's lineup could do. The counter punches thrown by Milwaukee. William Contreras hit a home run where he sat down to watch it sail over the batter's eye in straightaway center. It was comical watching that ball game on Monday night. I freaking loved it.
Well, and here's the other part where my mind went as well. It's like, it's still not Coors, right? It's still about 2,000 feet different, but Coors, obviously they tried to offset it with the super, super deep ballpark. That results in more hits, maybe cuts away a little bit at the homers.
Yeah.
Nick Kurtz, we always play the game of like, oh, what if this guy played at Coors his whole career? Or what if imagine this guy Coors. Yeah. Nick Kurtz might play his whole career at Coors Jr.
Yeah.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but this guy, this might be the best thing that could happen to his career. We talk about the Jim Thome comps. I know Peter made a video. You put Jim Thome in Coors Jr., this guy might hit 600 plus homers. I don't want to do this, but I can't escape it. Where my mind is going. Also, the swing that Nick Kurtz put on the 99 up and in Aaron Ashby fastball, that's gone in any ballpark in the stratosphere. However, he also just flicked the ball the other way and missed it, and it's gone. Nick Kurtz at Coors Jr. could be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's going to be in there in 2028, assuming, he even if he doesn't sign an extension or anything like that, he's going to get several years in that ballpark where it could be bombs away.
And the big thing is they're building out their new ballpark. That new ballpark will have a retractable roof. In all likelihood, because of a Las Vegas summer, that roof is going to be closed a lot, but still the air is going to be somewhat thin. I think the best comp to this is going to be a less cavernous Chase Field in Arizona. Yeah. Like the ball goes a little bit at Chase Field, but that is a very deep ballpark. Outside of Coors, that is as big an outfield as we have in Major League Baseball. I think it's going to be very Chase Field adjacent, and the ball might fly a little bit more. But really excited to see what Kurtz can do in Chase Field Jr. or Chase Field adjacent Coors Jr.
It might be Chase. It might be something between Chase and Coors, because I agree that that's a great point on the roof being closed, and I think that's going to make it probably cut it down by a good tick. But it's still going to be at the top, I think, just behind Coors as the best place to hit. And I'm going to be interested to see how it compares to Great American Ballpark in a different way. But you put that Athletics offense in a stadium like that in 2028, it's going to be really fun to watch. And I imagine they're going to do a pretty good job at drawing fans out there because of the fact that it's going to be just an offensive onslaught. When the weather's nice, it's open. You're going to get a ton of runs. When the weather's not nice, it's going to be closed. You're still going to get probably a lot of runs. So I'm excited for somebody to dive deep into this, into the kind of the science of it and the physics of it. But it's going to be fun as that gets closer.
This is going to be an OPS booster of a week for the Athletics, and the Brewers might as well just use this to their advantage. Again, they get to win 15, 14, and 12, but Yelich had 2 hits. Chorio had 3. Contreras had 3 with a homer. Bowers had 2 with a homer. Vaughn had 4 with 3 extra base hits and 4 RBIs. Joey Ortiz had 2. Meanwhile, on the A's side, Langoliers was 3 for 7 with a homer. Kurtz 3 for 6 with 2 homers. 3-hit day for Tyler Soderstrom with 2 homers, and a multi-hit day with a homer for Zach Geloff. Use this to your advantage offensively because, man, Monday night was cool. I cannot wait to see what the rest of the week has in store. We got to talk about more minor league ballparks in a sec because there is a certain back-to-back Cy Young Award winner that carved in the minor leagues. That's up next.
Terrible start last year, injured all the way through, didn't have a chance to win that Major League Baseball season. This year, first team to 20 wins, first team to 30 wins, first team to 40 wins. It's all been the Atlanta Braves. Good baseball club lurking around here.
They still have some guys, some starting pitchers on the shelf there that could help them down the road, but the Braves are sitting pretty right now.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Christopher Sanchez is the right call right now. What am I missing? Why is Shohei Ohtani not right there with him? Well, is it the innings, Donnie? What is it? What am I missing here? Because if he qualifies for the pitching title and he throws a lot of innings and he leads the major leagues in earned run average and even whip, like, well, what am I missing?
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Hey there, it's your buddy Craig Carton. If you're trying to find out how to get all the great content that me and Tyrone Johnson give you every single day, here's Tyrone to tell you how.
You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and of course, Amazon Music as well. We're at all four.
That's right. It's the Craig Carton Show podcast every weekday morning live at 11, replayed at noon on YouTube and on SportsGrid throughout the country. Check it out.
Just Baseball Show continues. As always, it is presented by BetMGM. We just talked about that crazy marathon, 12-inning, 15-14 Brewers win over the Athletics, in which there were 11 combined home runs. Now I want to talk about a guy absolutely shutting it down in the minor leagues. Tarik Skubal made a start for the West Michigan Whitecaps, the high A affiliate of the Detroit Tigers, on Sunday afternoon. Now, AJ Hinch mentioned it could be one and done in terms of a rehab start. Skubal is coming off of that new nanoscope procedure. He had loose bodies in his elbow, and there was a tiny nanoscopic scope procedure done where it effectively served as an injection. So he went under the knife, and about a month later, Skubal fires 5 scoreless innings in high A, 2 hits, 6 Ks, no walks, and Skubal threw 54 pitches, 44 strikes in 5 innings in high A. I understand it's high A, and he didn't make a rehab with AAA Toledo. But Skubal looked like Skubal. And this not only opens the door for the trade conversation or the Tigers making a run right back into contention conversation, this also opens the door for the brand new procedure that changes baseball conversation. And I want to start with that one, because Snell just got the same thing. Blake Snell with the Dodgers just did the same exact thing. We'll see how Snell responds to it. But if Skubal is any indication, this nanoscope procedure changes the way we look at bone chips and loose bodies in a pitcher's elbow, man.
Which is huge. I mean, look, I think we've never been more in tune. And I say we, like I'm out there on the mound, but in terms of just players and pitchers, like, in the past, they used to throw until literally they couldn't really throw. Whereas now it's like you feel a little something, you're getting it checked out immediately. So yes, you still have a ton of Tommy John surgeries, but I think a lot more frequently now we're seeing some of the minor stuff like the bone chips or whatever pop up because players are a lot more in tune with what they're feeling, and then they're getting that checked out. So even so, you're still having so many guys miss multiple months. I mean, how many players with those bone spurs did we see at the start of the year? It felt like more than TJ. And so to be able to expedite that process is absolutely huge. And I think to be able to have something that, you know, even is like the best case scenario, in the past, it was still multiple months and a ramp up. And like what we're seeing with like a Hunter Green, we still haven't seen him, right? Like Skubal got this procedure well after Green and is going to be back well before Green. So it really is a game changer, especially for pitchers where, I mean, a month is, it's a huge chunk of your workload. Yes. And especially for these guys in contract years, like there's so many implications in so many different ways, but it's really exciting. And I know Skubal might just be a freak. So that's why it's a fun, I guess, just like wait and see kind of thing. Skubal might just be different. And I think he is, but at the same time, the human body's a human body. And I'm really interested to see how these next, few examples of it, Snell and others, respond, because this could be a really exciting and I would say just positive just development for medicine and for baseball.
It seems like Scooble also took the time to put on 10 more pounds of mass, like just strength.
He had a little
like,
James Harden thing going on there a little
dude,
bit.
it's crazy. The way that he was like sauntering on the mound, I was like, oh my gosh, you're a unit. And he's always like been a unit over the last couple of years, but he just looked bigger somehow. And maybe it was relative to the hitters in the box because he's seeing a bunch of 20-year-old guys, but it's just amazing. Again, this is from Jason Beck of MLB.com. Smaller instrument is used in this nanoscope procedure to remove the loose body from Scooble's elbow. Procedure would be less invasive, impact less tissue, and induce less swelling. Return would thus be simpler, from regaining range of motion to throwing, and with less time sideline. Scooble would hopefully retain more of his arm endurance that he had built up before the surgery. That is huge. You do not want to see your buildup fall to the wayside, because when you have to rebuild up and when you have to make 3 to 4 rehab starts, you're behind the 8 ball, especially in a contract year.
And there's always risk, right? Could you get ahead of yourself and then create another issue? So there's so many reasons why this is positive. The other thing is, all of those things that you just read are 100% true just off of seeing this first outing from him. He touched 99 6 times, if you want to round up from 98.5, but he was north of 99.0, I think, several times.
In high A, there's no juice there. Like, that means he'll get to 100 in the big leagues.
He didn't throw a fastball below 95.8. And that was the only pitch he threw below 96. And then the other part that I think is really telling, and again, a lot of this could just be Scooble being different, is the feel was 100% there again. It was 82% strikes. The changeups were dotted. Like, it was like he didn't even miss a turn in the rotation. And partly Scooble, but I think also largely in part the fact that his body didn't feel abnormal, which is like a prerequisite to even the most minor of minor surgeries. So this is really exciting.
So obviously the biggest thing to come from all of this is the possible medical advancement that we have in pitching and just players in general, right? The other big thing here is you get Tarek Skubal back, and we're getting close to decision time for Scott Harris. So I guess I want to take us to part 2 of this conversation, which is, how do the Tigers do this if Skubal looks like Skubal on the way back? You probably have to give yourself some more time, because the Tigers are getting going a little bit and they're hitting the ball out of the ballpark. And we were talking about June, July, and August as the 3 months where they would hit the ball out of the ballpark a lot. Do you feel like this is going to be a thread the needle situation? And if anything is going to happen, it's going to happen end of July, first couple days of August?
Yeah. And I think that's the fortunate aspect for the Tigers, is like, they can wait. It could wait. And it's only going to play into their favor without the desperation of certain teams. I know a lot of teams aren't lining up to give up, several top prospects for a rental, but there's going to be plenty of teams bidding on Tarek Skubal's services, obviously. And they can wait and give themselves as much time as possible to make this decision. The division obviously is probably a foregone conclusion for them. But as we talked about, the American League wild card is just, in the American League in general, so weak. 5.5 games. Yes, they're the 3rd worst team, but 5.5 games is doable, especially when you got Skubal throwing every 5th day, which is a scheduled advantage when he looks the way that he looks. So also Justin Verlander coming back, and if he just can give you some quality starts in there, he looked good in his rehab outing. There's reasons to hope that they can pick it up a little bit, and you sweep a series, and all of a sudden you're right within 3.5 games or so, 2-3 games, and you can really talk yourself into this. They still got about a month and a half, I think, to figure this out. And make the decision there. So I think the fact that Skubal could come back so quickly has really made things easier on the Tigers to say, hey, we're going to give this a really good shot. Everybody on that team knows the deal. They got to turn it around in 6 weeks or it ain't happening. And I think that's going to be a galvanizing aspect when you've got your ace and your leader back into the clubhouse there to help you to try to save this season.
And hilarious that we can even have this conversation with the Tigers sitting at 12 games under 500 right now. Like, hilarious that conversation is even on the table right now. But that's where we are, man. We've got 30 seconds left in this segment. Yes or no? Tarek Skubal makes a start in September for the Detroit Tigers.
I'm going to go no, because I think it's going to be a rare return possibility in terms of what they can get for a rental pitcher.
Yeah, some of the packages are going to be egregious in a great way for Scott Harris, and very curious to see how he navigates this if the Tigers don't claw back into it. More on the Just Baseball show when we come back. Stick around, folks. Just Baseball show continues. We hit on the Brewers-A's game on Monday. We also hit on Tarek Skubal and his rehab outing on Sunday. Now I want to hit on the best hitter in Major League Baseball over the last couple of weeks. Jung-Hoo Lee of the San Francisco Giants, the team that everybody put to bed a couple of weeks ago saying that lineup is awful. Nobody can hit. Devers can't hit. Arise is hitting, but that's really it. Chapman can't hit and Thomas can't hit. Guess what? The Giants are looking a little bit friskier offensively. Number one, because Luis Arise is sustaining his success. Number two, because Devers is starting to hit doubles, which is nice. You just got to see him hit homers. But Jung-Hoo Lee, dude, if I am not mistaken, I think it's 40 hits in his last 22 games. He's hitting 435 in his last 22, and the clip's right around 590 in his last 11 games. This guy is on a heater. I never want to see him come off of it. But Jung-Hoo Lee now has his batting average up to 333, which is one of the best marks in all of baseball. He's got 14 doubles. He has an 820 OPS. You love Jung-Hoo Lee when the Giants paid him coming over from the KBO. And I don't know if it was the hot stretches that you were looking for. I feel like you loved the floor of him. Yeah. But this is a ridiculous heater that he's on right now.
It was a combination of the elite bat to ball with more thump than you would expect for a guy with elite bat to ball. And that didn't mean that he was going to hit 20 homers, but it meant that he was going to be able to split the gaps. It's not going to be the wet noodle, spray the ball, hope it has eyes all the time type of situation. And I think what we're seeing with Lee is that's really shining through. Remember in 24 had that, catastrophic shoulder injury, ends the season. And I think we've seen with a lot of guys here, it's the second season back from that, where they kind of get back to who they are. And I do wonder if that's part of it. Also, it's just a matter of getting the reps, right? He only had 158 plate appearances before the injury in 24. 2025 was his first full season, while also still kind of getting back to feeling like himself again. This is a guy that just eclipsed 1,000 plate appearances at the big league level. And of course, 27 years old, but made the jump from KBO, skip the minor leagues, go to the major leagues. It's a big leap. There's a lot to still get acclimated and adjust to. And I think when the Giants gave Jung-Hoo Lee this contract, I'd assume they were hoping he'd make an impact in year 1 and 2. But I imagine that they knew that the best years of Jung-Hoo Lee were probably going to come in the middle of that contract, just being that it's probably unrealistic to expect a guy to go from KBO in his mid-20s to Major League Baseball and immediately reach his potential. So I think that is the funny part with the Giants, is there's been a lot of, or at least several exciting individual stories in what has been an extremely disappointing season. I think you look at Luis Arias looking like one of the best free agent signings by any team this year. You look at what Jung-Hoo Lee has done. Casey Schmidt is an all-star. That guy's got to be an all-star. He has broken out in every single way, and Lee looks like that player that you handed out, 9 figures to. So it's really exciting. I think he's here to stay too. I do really think that he's starting to figure it out, and he's going to be a very good table setter for this team for a while.
So the interesting thing about Jung-Hoo Lee so far this year is he is bottom 10 in Major League Baseball in terms of walk rate. He's walking 4% of the time right now, but he is one of the premier bat to ball guys in Major League Baseball. He's punching out 10% of the time. And even with a 4% walk rate, he's got a WRC plus at 133, which is a top 50-ish mark in Major League Baseball. So this heater, you would expect to push this guy offensively into like the top 15 or 20 in baseball. That's not really the case because you have to mitigate with a little bit more power and a little bit more walk. But at the end of the day, like, this brand of baseball is coming back. I don't want to say it's in vogue because there's immense value here. I get to watch it every night with Xavier Edwards. We get to watch it all the time. You just mentioned Luis Arias, but like Jacob Wilson was an all-star and he was the starting shortstop in the AL last year, if I'm not mistaken, for the American League. So like, this is back. This is valuable. And if Jung-Hoo Lee is at the top of that lineup, it's great. And you just made the circle. This game's cyclical, dude. It totally is. The bunt is back too.
Yeah, the bunt is. I was going to pitch that as a potential topic, but I wanted a little bit more research and info on it.
Ben Clemens wrote a great article on Fangraphs. I want to talk about that a little bit later on in the week.
Yeah, I definitely want to dive into that, but it's the whole point. There's no reason to be the 8th or 9th team to this new thing. You might as well go back to the old thing and find value in that. And that's the funny thing about baseball is everyone always gets so worried, we're going too far in this direction. I promise you, too many will go in that direction. We'll circle right back to the old stuff again. The last thing on Jung-Hoo Lee is it's just pure hitting. And that's what made him so impressive in KBO. He had to make the adjustment to big league breaking balls and off speed. He's hitting .313 against fastballs. He's hitting .319 against breaking balls. He's hitting .391 against off speed. How do you game plan for this guy right now? I don't really know. He hits everything.
I don't think you do game plan. I think you just throw him your best stuff and you hope that he doesn't do damage against it. And usually the damage looks like doubles and not homers. And I guess opposing teams want to live with that. But Jung-Hoo Lee, again, has the batting average on the year up to .333, has the OPS up to .820. And Jung-Hoo Lee been one of the hottest hitters in Major League Baseball. Jung-Hoo Lee is kickstarting something for San Francisco. They're still on the outside looking in, and in a good National League. Season's probably over for Tony Vitello in season 1 for him. But Jung-Hoo Lee has been great. We've got a little bit more to talk about in the next couple of segments. I want to bring up one of the better hitters in baseball that nobody's talking about and how the team is starting to turn their season around right now. And they're doing it in a way that a lot of people doubted. That's up next right here on the Just Baseball Show.
Well, the talk has been about sports betting handle being down or flat, right, because of the threat of prediction markets and the growth of them. But we've seen Kalshi actually kind of plateau for the first time in recent memory. Looking at a graphic right now, we've had the spike for the Super Bowl, and then this is usually when things die down. Yes, there's March Madness, but usually sports betting handle kind of goes down over the course of the spring and summer until we get back to football season.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
For Abdul Carter. Hey son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time and he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
This is all about headlines, Donnie. If we hear, if that noise gets louder as we get closer, then 45 cents is going to be 65 cents, and that's the repricing we're talking about. I don't need Utah to get him. I need people to think Utah is going to go up and get him, Donnie, and that's how you make money.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Craig Carton along with Tyrone Johnson. We got great news for you. CraigCartonShow.com. And Tyrone, what do you get if you go to that amazing website?
Well, right now you can subscribe to our upcoming newsletter. You put in your email address, and then bang, you'll get all the new Craig Carton Show content when it arrives.
Not just that, you also get merch drops, exclusive content, and appearances. So again, one more time, that website is CraigCartonShow.com.
Just Baseball Show, as always, presented by BetMGM. A reminder to make it legendary. Jack, Aram, Peyton here with you. I want to talk about Josh Young. Josh Young, the third baseman for the Texas Rangers, has quietly, very, very quietly, been one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball this year. The 28-year-old through 60 games is hitting .313 with an .855 OPS. He's got 16 doubles, 8 homers. He's driven in 29. It's a 150 OPS plus. And Young, he's only punching out 15% of the time. Josh Young has been kind of a fire starter for this Rangers offense, who has won 7 of the last 10. And Texas is starting to swing it for the first time since they won it all in 2023. The last couple of years, our conversation around the Texas Rangers is they're pitching. They can pitch. They can pitch. But can they hit? The answer has been a resounding no the last couple of years. It seems like they're starting to swing it a little bit, dude. It's not just Josh Young. It's Ezekiel Duran, too. They have other bigger names in that lineup. Where's your level of excitement, not just for Young, and you can start there, but with Texas as a whole?
I'm starting to see, Peter's vision a little bit too, right? As he kind of made that call for them to potentially win the division. I still think now the Mariners are going to start to pick up too, and we got Cal on rehab, and they're starting to play much better ball. But at the same time, I mean, this is a really interesting Rangers team that I think is getting stronger offensively, as you mentioned. Seeing Seager start to put some better swings on balls. Wyatt Langford is back and has immediately started to make an impact, and that's the huge X factor for me. I think it's Young and it's Langford, but Langford is so dynamic that to be able to add him to the fold as well is really exciting. And I think in the past it was like Langford needs to look like, perennial all-star Langford in terms of the upside that we've always talked about with him. Now with the way that Josh Young is performing and some of these other complementary pieces you mentioned, they just need Wyatt Langford to be solid and healthy. And that's what he's been there too. But Josh Young looks like the guy that, was the 8th overall pick and one of the top prospects in the game, the guy that came up in the big leagues, and you immediately could see that this is a good balance of hit and power. Like, I don't think anything jumps off the page, but you're going to be hard pressed to find a clear-cut deficiency. But all of a sudden, the last couple of years, I know injuries played a part in it. It was just a little bit of a seesaw, and he just looks like he's back to that guy again, that blend of hit and power that is so impressive. And I think it's really showing in terms of the hit. He's cut his strikeout rate from 25% last year to 15% this year. And I mean, 26% in his big league career. He's almost halved that. That is something clearly has clicked for him, and he's making more contact than ever. And I think that's also allowing, that pop to shine through a little bit too.
He's always been an unorthodox setup guy, kind of an unorthodox swinger, right? Is it fair to say it's a flat bat path for him, yet it was a lot of punch outs? Like, that really doesn't make sense, because the flat bat path would result in a lower K rate, but he was a guy that struck out a lot. He was always really hard to wrap my brain around.
100%. And I think you just ended up just looking at the overall numbers and saying, hey, he's producing, right? But I think that the flatter path, you could see that kind of results in him swinging over spin and sharper stuff. And now all of a sudden, I think that's the biggest thing, is he's staying in the zone longer, and you're seeing him just demolish secondaries. I mean, when you look at some of the struggles before, there was a lot of whiff against those secondaries, especially spin in 2024. It was a 43% whiff rate against breaking balls. Even last year, it looked like it was a step in the right direction. But this year, pulverizing heaters, but then again, breaking balls, only a 22% whiff rate. And against off speed, he's hitting 417. I know it's a small sample size, but 10 for 24, 3 doubles. You're going to take that any day of the week. So it seems like he's found a little bit more of that balance too, to where, I mean, he's crushing fastballs, but he has enough depth too to, be able to handle the spin. He's recognizing it as well as ever. And I think he's just really coming into his own at 28 years old, which is huge for this Rangers team.
So this is a Ranger team that is sporting Josh Young and his 140 WRC plus, Ezekiel Duran through 200 plate appearances at a 125 WRC plus. Shout out to Ezekiel Duran, who's having a bit of a breakout season for him. Jock Peterson needed a bounce back, and he's bouncing back right now. 8 homers, and he's got a 121 WRC plus. Jake Berger has been relative to league average, slightly below, but he does have 10 homers this year. Seager missed some time, but in 44 games, he has 8 homers. He's just striking out a decent bit, and it's an 81 WRC plus. But mind you, this is also the team that runs out a starting rotation of DeGrom, Eovaldi, Gore, Rocker, and Leiter. And Rocker's been throwing the ball a little bit better. Leiter has kind of been the run to the litter, but there's so much to love about Jack Leiter. I mean, dude, like, it's kind of easy to get not reckless with Texas, but see them as that other big threat in the American League West. And the AL West started so poorly. And you mentioned the Mariners. It feels like they're trying to become that final form of the Mariners, and pitching is getting them there right now. By the way, I saw this fun note on Seattle. First pitch strike rate leaders in Major League Baseball, minimum 60 innings. Number 1 is Brian Wu. Number 2 is Logan Gilbert. Number 3 is Luis Castillo. They literally have the top 3 in first pitch strike rate. So that is a prioritization of first pitch strike. But Seattle's looking real good. The A's are swinging it, and this Vegas week might help them out. But Texas, man, like, they're better than any team in the AL Central. I stand by that. And they could be the 3rd or 4th best team in the American League. So why can't they make some noise in a bad American League?
It's time for their superstars to make an impact. As the complimentary piece are, Jock Peterson's hitting the ball. Like Corey Seager, you got to hit the ball. Also, one of the best trades. I know Marcus Semion's been picking it up, but one of the best trades in a really unorthodox one.
Dude.
You know, big contract for big contract. Chris Young, savvy move to go get Brandon Nimmo. I know he's slowed down, but he was one of the catalysts to keep the offense alive.
And open up space for Duran, too. Ezekiel Duran blossoming now that Semion's out of the equation. It's kind of nice to see him not be a part-time player.
And you know Chris Young's going to be aggressive because he's more of that old school Dombrowski-esque GM that we love for our job. And I think he's going to continue to add to this team. So I agree with you. I mean, and when you look at the way that the bullpen and the back end has performed, like, there's so much more meat on the bone offensively when Corey Seager has an 81 WRC plus and you just got Wyatt Langford back and Evan Carter has still been putrid. So I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about this team. And, you know, I'm excited to see if they can, you know, keep it rolling.
How would you line up the pitching for them? Like, if they find themselves in the postseason conversation, like they clearly have a front 3, would you just be riding the hotter hand of Rocker versus Leiter? Because, like, you traded for Gore, you gave up 5 prospects, one of which, by the way, a top 100 prospect in your update, a top 60 prospect in your update, and Devin Fitzgerald. Holy smokes. Did Taboni crush that trade?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, those people were critical of the trade at the time. They're like, this trade is going to age really well. I really believe that. Fitzgerald was a big reason why. And Alejandro Rosario being like a throw-in bonus piece is another reason why. I felt like that guy, if he's anything, given what they already got with the centerpieces and Gavin Feen, how often do you acquire a top 15 pick right after he was selected?
Yeah, right.
It never happens. So I think that trade is going to age really, really well. But that said, like, still for the Rangers, you got Gore. I don't know if I can answer that question because the obvious, like, surface level answer would be Gore. But when you look at the peripherals, there's a lot of things that may point you towards whoever's hotter, of Rocker or Leiter, with the way Gore's been throwing the ball right now. He's the only guy that's walking more than 4 per 9.
Which is interesting. The other one that I love is Eovaldi, and I know the ERA sits over 4 as it stands right now, but
I would give him the ball game 2 and not even think about it.
Dude, the way he stiff arms Father Time, it's a really fun watch, Nathan Eovaldi. And DeGrom, honestly, like, stiff arming Father Time to a certain extent, but also being on the mound has been really fun for DeGrom. Like, since the second Tommy John surgery, it's been way more consistent. I just enjoy turning on Ranger baseball right now. And man, this offense is a huge piece of that. And, you know, Peyton just dropped a note to us, like, Evan Carter has been incredibly disappointing, and we're starting to see that track record there. But in the rotation, in the bullpen, there are guys with track record, and they are just a fun watch right now. Like, you've got those league pass teams that you just gravitate towards watching. Texas is one of those league pass teams. Cleveland's always going to be a league pass team. Yeah. Tampa's always going to be a league pass team. But we've got about 40 seconds here. Is Texas near the top of your like league pass power rankings?
I root for either of the two double TJ guys, and DeGrom and Eovaldi, endlessly, because I just want to see them continue to push it and push it and push it. So they're up there for me. Honestly, no, because the offense has been so dormant, but they're getting there now, because when you get Langford back and you have Young swinging it and Corey Seager, hopefully, all of a sudden, yeah, this is a really fun team to watch.
All right, so we just talked about Josh Young's consistent nature leading to a breakout and then the Texas turnaround. I want to take you to a very similar conversation in the National League when we come back. The Just Baseball show continues. Let's rinse and repeat the Josh Young Ranger conversation with Brandon Marsh and the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies are hot. Phillies are looking like the Phillies. And yes, Schwarber is near the top of Major League Baseball in terms of homers. And yes, Harper has had a very solid year. And yes, Bohm came out of that dreadful first 4 to 6 weeks of his season. But dude, the drink is being stirred by Brandon freaking Marsh. Brandon Marsh in his age 28 season is already a 2-win player. In 61 games, hitting .333, one of the best marks in Major League Baseball. 11 doubles, 8 homers, 2 triples. He's driven in 30. He's got 5 bags, and it's an 880 OPS for Brandon Marsh right now. We talked about him a little bit on Sunday night on the weekend roundup, and I just mentioned, like, this is a consistent player that pulses up to a breakout, and you're seeing maybe the birth of semi-stardom, but at least just like a true showcase of, hey, we had answers in the outfield here already. Like, our average guy is well above average now. What do you make of Brandon Marsh's first 2 months of the year?
Amazing. Because, you know, you get to a certain point, and here's another 28-year-old, though, that is really figuring it out. But the difference is, you know, I just felt like you kind of knew who Marsh, well, you thought you knew who Marsh was at this point, where you had a pretty large sample size here since his age 23 season. Guy I loved as a prospect because of the floor and just the blend of solid enough hit and power. But then through the first few years, I'm like, man, this guy's whiffing more than I expected. And I think that was the limitation, because a hitter of his archetype, where it's speed and some defense, and you know, you look at a little bit more aggressive at times in the box, and you think, well, he's got to make a lot of contact, right? And you see the underlying whiff, and you say, oh, that's going to hold him back from being, you know, the most successful version of that archetype. And he has just improved so much bat to ball wise this year. Now, I don't know how sustainable it fully is, but he's just clearly a notch better this year, kind of across the board, whether it be contact consistency, whether it be, just the overall, I think, leveraging of the angles, where I think you're seeing him just hit the ball at better angles in general. And I think just being more comfortable in the box. What's funny is he has been as aggressive as ever. So you have Marsh, a guy that, has had whiff concerns in the past in terms of just striking out too much, but the zone contact has always been pretty solid. And all of a sudden the zone contact's right around where it was last year. He's chasing like 8% more, and he has cut the strikeout rate and is putting the ball in play and has been one of the best in terms of batting average and expected batting average in Major League Baseball. So I don't know how to fully explain it other than the fact that this guy has figured out how to pulverize four-seamers, pulverize it. And he's seeing them 5% less this year. He's hitting 426 against four-seamers. If you can't get one by him, you say, oh, why don't they just spin him to death? He's been good enough against spin. If you don't suck against spin and you're one of the best fastball hitters in Major League Baseball, you're going to be in a pretty good spot.
Yes. And what's funny is Marsh doesn't walk either. Like you would think, okay, spin him to death and like he'll just take and see if you can land it. He's only walked 11 times in 60 games so far this year. So he's getting enough fastballs, and like, don't throw him one because he's going to beat you with one. Marsh's breakout was so important for the Phillies in the way that they started. And, you can still look at the season-long numbers and you see Trey Turner sporting a WRC plus shy of 80. And Bohm and Stott sporting WRC plus is shy of 80. You needed three pieces to guide you through. And frankly, the back 60% of that rotation has just not been good enough. No. Like Luzardo has not been good. Painter, we got to have a Painter discussion at some point soon. Nola has kind of looked like the Aaron Nola that we were worried about, like the sacrificial lamb, the 5-star that you're paying that you have to run out there. But, Justin Crawford hasn't really hit the ground running. Adolis Garcia has a 610 OPS.
He's hit the ground a lot.
Yes, he had. Rio Muto has a 601 OPS. Like, there are a lot of OPSs that lead with sixes. So obviously you have Schwarber and his 155 WRC plus. You have Harper and his 139. But you were begging for another 140. And you thought it would come from Turner. That's not the case. Came from Marsh and his 142 WRC plus, man. The rest of these guys obviously need to step up for the Phillies to be a World Series contender. But the fact that they are where they are right now, with all of the bad happening at the outset and kind of elongated into right now, it's fascinating to watch, and you have to feel like they're coming out of it soon.
It's shocking. Yeah. Aside from Schwarber, as you mentioned, Harper and Marsh, they do not have another bat that is within 20% of league average.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned, it's been worst case scenario just about. I know Luzardo's peripherals are better, but it's been just about worst case scenario for 3, 4, 5 in the rotation, particularly 4 and 5, and Luzardo just not pitching to his standards. Wheeler was out. I mean, if they didn't get Wheeler back, I think that's been one of the biggest parts of this success, because Christopher Sanchez has been the best pitcher probably in baseball this year, but he can only throw every 5th day. So if you had some deficits otherwise, that's a big part too. But you literally have a scheduled massive advantage now, 2 out of the 5 times out of the rotation.
Yeah.
And that's been enough for them to just fight through. It's like, okay, well, if we can win 1 to 2 out of 3 of the others, we're going to win the other 2 at the start of the rotation almost every single time, it feels like. But I mean, I also do think that they have to address this offense, because I do think guys are going to get better, but it's just, you can't have 3 guys leading the way and then the rest of the freaking offense more than 20% below league average.
I'm putting you on the spot with something a little reckless right now. We've got about 2 minutes left in this segment, but I love this YouTube comment, and this thought had been just kind of blooming in my brain a little bit. Could Trout be an answer? Kind of a broken record, but now seems like the best time. That comes to us from Brady on YouTube. Yes, I totally hear you. Yes. The reckless thing that I wanted to just throw into the ether and see if you throw up in your mouth a little bit, Trout and Jose Soriano for a big package.
Oh, that would be incredible, because Soriano is kind of tapered down a little bit. They could still feel like they're selling high-ish. Yeah. If it doesn't happen now, it's never going to happen. And I think at this point, Trout sees an opportunity to, finally go in and do it in Philly. I think Dombrowski is going to be all in on that kind of opportunity. I do think the Phillies ultimately can look down the line and say, okay, well, eventually Wheeler is going to come off the books. Nola's not that far from coming off the books. I mean, you look at some of these older guys, it's not I think you can see a little bit more money freeing up eventually.
Yeah.
But I also don't think the Phillies will care when it's somebody like Mike Trout. this is the time to do it. But we've said it so many times. I don't think it's ever felt more, I don't want to say realistic, 'cause it's never realistic, but like more sane,
Possible
is better than it does right now. And I'm really hoping for it because I mean, it would be better for baseball. It'd be better for Mike Trout, and heck, it'd be better for the Phillies and the Angels at this point.
Yes.
So I would love to see it.
Do you know how cool it would be to see Bryce Harper and Mike Trout share a lineup
Oh,
and like hit back to back? Harper and Trout, who were the poster boys of the early 2010s and the mid 2010s, that would be the coolest thing that we've got in 2026, seeing Harper and Trout, and oh, by the way, Schwarber and Turner and Marsh in the same lineup with Wheeler and Sanchez absolutely shoving. We wrap the JB show next.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Terrible start last year, injured all the way through, didn't have a chance to win that Major League Baseball season. This year, first team to 20 wins, first team to 30 wins, first team to 40 wins. It's all been the Atlanta Braves. The baseball club lurking around here.
They still have some guys, some starting pitchers on the shelf there that could help them down the road, but the Braves are sitting pretty right now.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
That's for Abdul Carter. Hey, son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time? And he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Well, the talk has been about sports betting handle being down or flat, right, because of the threat of prediction markets and the growth of them. But we've seen Kalshi actually kind of plateau for the first time in recent memory. Looking at a graphic right now, we've had the spike for the Super Bowl, and then this is usually when things die down. Yes, there's March Madness, but usually sports betting handle kind of goes down over the course of the spring and summer until we get back to football season.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This baseball show comes to a close. We just talked about Josh Young and the Texas turnaround. We talked about Brandon Marsh and the Philly turnaround. Now, for the sake of the exercise, I just want to revisit the National League Central because I think we can eulogize one team in the NL Central. There were 5 teams in the conversation, and all 5 teams were comfortably over 500 at one point. Then all 5 teams were over 500 at one point, maybe not comfortably. But there is one team that has fallen 3 games under. They have dropped 5 in a row. They've dropped 8 of their last 10. Is it time to officially eulogize the Cincinnati Reds, Aram Leighton?
I love the Reds. Like, I love their fans. I really want to see this team succeed. You can talk yourself into the return of, Hunter Green. In that division, with the way things look right now, I think you can start to I light the candle. I think you can eulogize him. I just don't see how it gets better. And they still got a little bit of time before Ellie comes back.
They have, I think, 2 to 3 weeks before Ellie De La Cruz comes back. And the over-reliance on Ellie and Sal Stewart is really starting to rear its head right now. And Nick Krall could be signing up for a big-time sell at the deadline. So I guess I'm just asking you to look at the roster and tell me who are those sellable pieces. Like, I'm sure there would be a taker for Eugenio Suarez. Nathaniel Lowe, the way he's swinging it, there's going to be a taker for Nathaniel Lowe. But, like, I just
how
look
about
around
JJ freaking Bleday?
Yeah, how about JJ Bleday? Yeah, that's cool too.
But, I mean, when I look at the rotation, that's the biggest reason why. This was a team that's supposed to be built on pitching. And Chase Burns has been spectacular. But Brady Singer has been horrific. Nick Lodolo just has not been himself all year. Lauder's been banged up and not good. Abbott's been better, but he's not been, pitching to his standards either. And then you don't have clear-cut closer. It's closer by committee. And you just don't have the leverage arms that you really trust. Shout out TJ Antone, though. I can't believe he's back. Like, I just love seeing that guy on the mound. Amazing. Most resilient dude in Major League Baseball. But man, I don't really know how it can get better for this team. I don't know if I really see it. And you look offensively, like, they've had a lot of fortunate outcomes. They've had some unfortunate outcomes too. Of course, you wanted more from Gino. But Blake Dunn's given you 101 plate appearances of above average offense. South Stewart, I know he slowed down, but he's been a really good bat for you. JJ Bleday has been a godsend. He's a borderline all-star. He's performing like an all-star. Steer has been much better this year. Nathaniel Lowe has been fantastic. Like, those are a lot of unexpected pro things. Maybe not Sal. Obviously, we loved him here going into the year, but a lot of unexpected production. And they still can't put it together. I just don't know how it gets much better for them.
I'm not sure. You look at the other 4 teams in the National League Central right now. What catches your eye? Why does it catch your eye? Is it the Cubs and Bregman? Like, that Bregman slide, we haven't talked about much on the Just Baseball show. It's been really hard to watch.
Yeah, actually, I got to talk to our guy, Tyler Rocky, about it. It's just great stuff to cover in Chicago. I'm so bad with the numbers in the radio station. I know you've got this off the dome. Tyler.
ESPN 1000, ESPN Chicago. 1000. Yeah.
I know I always give the wrong number. I'm sorry, Tyler. But he's like getting really nervous about the Bregman thing. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I think Bregman's going to pick it up. I think the Cubs, I'm very confused by. That's not what stands out to me as much. I think what jumps to me is that the Cardinals have not slowed down. And we are at this point now where it's like, they should have slowed down by now. Like, you continue to say, like, they're not going to make it happen. They're not going to make it happen. You know, good team, a lot of progress here. When are they going to slow down? I'm waiting for it. And I think there's starting to become more and more reasons why they're not going to. Not just Jordan Walker. Alec Burleson, it looks like one of the best first basemen in Major League Baseball. JJ Weatherholt looks like the front runner for Rookie of the Year. Like, you can go through it all. I thought the pitching wouldn't hold up. They've got just a bunch of arms. They're just going to spam you with nobody's great, but all these guys are good enough and give themselves a shot with the bats they have. I think that's what stands out to me. They've got a shot.
The curmudgeon in me is saying, oh, the slide can begin any given night, right?
Yes.
Like, okay, this can happen now. Okay, this could happen tomorrow. This could happen the day after. But at the end of the day, like, you give it the stiff arm for 2.5 months, and you're starting to really cook with gas at this point. In St. Louis, it's going to be a fascinating deadline for them because they're not going to buy per se, but they could strategically add some controllable pieces. I think Chaim Bloom is really good at his job. Yeah. And this is a cool opportunity to see Chaim Bloom be very good at this job. By the way, we've got 60 seconds left. Peyton just dropped us some breaking news. Braden Montgomery headed to the Chicago White Sox. He was hot with AAA Charlotte. Aram Leighton, you have 40 seconds to give us the rundown on Braden Montgomery.
That's surprising. A ton of power, crazy bat speed, impressive athlete from both sides of the plate that can, again, really run into baseballs. But there's some swing and miss there. I think just the fact that he's cut down on that and was walking at a really good clip this year is enough for the White Sox to say, hey, we're another team like the Cardinals that can hang in there, and we want our young guy to come help us.
It's so cool, man, Braden Montgomery. And also so cool that Elijah Evans can break that news that Braden Montgomery is headed to the south side of Chicago. So cool. What a program it was. Humongous thank you to Peyton Genis. For Aram Leighton, I'm Jack McMullen. Reminder, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you may be listening or watching this. Always benefits the show. We've got a great slate on the JB show coming up, including some College World Series conversation. Keep it locked all week long.